Hi, this is Jimmy. I'll see us again in regards to me surviving the brain aneurysm that I did have and that ruptured. Prior to all this, I have seen a lot in my life. A lot of it's good, great. I've had great parents, fabulous friends throughout my lifetime. A lot of my friends and family don't even know what had happened to me when I lived in Central America at the time. I actually drove from San Jose, California, through the center part of Mexico, all the way through Guatemala, to El Salvador. My beliefs or thoughts was that Tijuana is what Mexico looked like. As I was younger, my parents and us, my family, always went to Tijuana, Disneyland almost every year, and camping all the time. So when I did this trip, going through Central America, and going through central part of Mexico, my vision of Mexico was what Tijuana was going to be. So driving all the way from San Jose to El Paso, Texas, which I didn't think El Paso was nice at all. Juarez was the same way Tijuana looked like. Driving through central part of Mexico, realizing that Mexico is beautiful, cleaner than I ever thought it was going to be. At that time was like when I was going through Central America in the early 90s, staying in Mexico City for almost a little over a month, and seeing the things I've seen there that I didn't think I'd ever see before, seeing the pyramids, seeing the churches that I didn't think I'd ever see. And the pyramids just amazed me on what I saw. And was able to walk all the way to the top of the pyramids of the sun on one of them. As we further our tour all the way through Mexico, through Guatemala. Beautiful country. First time that I've been there at this time. Didn't ever think I'd ever go there at any time in my life. As we made our journey through Mexico, Guatemala to El Salvador. As we further got into El Salvador, I didn't realize that El Salvador was at the end of a civil war. And from the things that I've seen, I should never have seen. I saw stuff that no one should have never have seen. Seen people that gave up their lives for their beliefs in what their country might do for them. Seen people that had passed away, dying wise, on the streets. And the times that I was there almost for 3 years. And there's been times where I was at the house that I was staying with, the family that allowed me to live with them. There was fighting outside the home. The gunshots. Sometimes we couldn't even sleep or even bear next to a window, fearing that there might be a gunshot that would go through. At one time when I was there, I was at the movies, watching a movie, and the movie theater went down. They were fighting outside the theater just as well. As I was living there at the time, I was always at the Sheraton Hotel because it was like having American food. And to come to find out was the chef there was from the United States, from Texas. He was a white guy. And then finally, he always asked the waitress why I was there all the time. So I told him, as he was trying to speak to me in Spanish, and I told him I don't speak Spanish, that it was like being back home in the United States. And then he was so happy that I was from America and that, I was there eating there all the time, breakfast almost every other day. One of my experiences there just as well, being at the Sheraton Hotel, was to meet somebody and to see somebody, and for him to introduce himself to me, was Ed Bradley, the newscaster from 60 Minutes. I was amazed at the fact that he introduced himself to me. I was there so much at the hotel, the Sheraton Hotel, to eat so much that the family I lived with would call me to make sure that I was there. And at this time, when Mr. Bradley had come up to me and introduced himself to me, the phone rings, and I was hoping, please don't let it be for me. And sure enough, it was. They were just making sure I was there, that I was okay. So I was speaking to them, and the family I did live with, the Rivera family, the father had asked me to speak to the children in English only, which I had told them I don't speak English. So as the oldest daughter had called to make sure I was there, I was speaking to her in English. Ed Bradley comes up to me and tells me, you speak pretty good English. And I told him, well, yeah, I do, and so do you. And he smiles. And I told him, I know who you're from. He smiled again, and he kind of looked kind of funny, puzzled look on his face. I told him, you're Ed Bradley from 60 Minutes. I go, I'm from the United States. Born and raised in San Jose, California. And the first thing he says is, Silicon Valley. I go, yep, born and raised. He introduced himself to me. So as I was planning to get up to leave, he noticed I was ready to go. He walks up towards me, introduces himself to me, shakes my hand, smiles, and tells me to take care of myself. So I told him just as well due to the fact I didn't know what was going on. And I believed that he was there for covering a story for whatever it may have been. And later on, the time that I was there was things I should never have seen in that country. And to find out later that at that time when I was there in the house, that family I was staying with, that finding out that what had happened to the American nuns, that basically they had found them in the location where I was living at. The home where I was staying at was very nice. It wasn't like I thought it would be. It's not American-wise, but it was very nice. I'm grateful that the family allowed me to live there with them for the period that I lived there with. And from there, I always traveled back and forth to Guatemala City, Panajachel in Guatemala, which is beautiful, and back to El Salvador. And went quite a few times to the Rotan Islands in Honduras. Off of Honduras was my first time ever going to the Caribbean. Beautiful time that I've had there. I went there several times. As I was living in El Salvador, I had 2 mild heart attacks. And the first thing that came to my mind is my mom is going to kick my ass. So I survived them. And the doctor didn't understand how I was able to get these heart attacks. And I told him I was traveling so much between the countries, El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras, and to the Rotan Islands. He told me I probably just put too much stress on my body. But I survived it without any damage to my body just as well. So the time that I was in the hospital, in there, I didn't remember at all having the second mild heart attack. And staying in the hospital there, I heard the door knocking and said, "Come on in." It was my mom. She flew all the way down there to make sure I was fine. And by the time she had got there, when she was still here in the United States home, they had told her I had passed away, that I had died. I was so happy, I was crying so hard that my mom was there. And also at this time, I told her I wanted to go back home, but the doctors there didn't want to allow me to fly back home at all. But we had to. Well, I wanted to. So flying back from El Salvador to Guatemala City to LAX to San Francisco, where my dad picked me up and my sister, Marlene. Came back home, and everything was fine for the longest time. Until the time when my sister Diane had passed away unexpectedly. That was the biggest shock that my family had ever experienced, and I have. And I know my mom, it was devastating to my mom to have seen what had happened to my sister Diane. She had passed away 14 years ago. And prior to her passing away, she had got married the year before. She had 3 sons from her first husband, Larry. My nephews are Joel, Jason, and Jacob. She was never able to see the grandchildren that they had given her. And as life kind of went on, things were okay. My mom was diagnosed with colon cancer. Then another thing that happened was the worst thing that ever happened to me and my family. My mom passing away was cancer. I do have 3 aunts, 3 beautiful aunts that have survived cancer. One of my aunts, my Aunt Helen, my beautiful Aunt Helen, survived cancer twice. My Aunt Frances, who I live with now, has survived once. I'm living strong. So as time goes on, I'm fine, working, living, hanging out, and I had the aneurysm. During the aneurysm time that I had, it was the hardest time in my life. It put me on the hardest road for me to walk on. My mom was the rock to our family, and seeing her passing away and not having her being there for me during the time that I needed her the most, to support me, to make me know that I'll be okay. But I'm doing fine. The doctors are stunned and surprised I was able to survive through all this, from having the 2 mild heart attacks in Central America in the 90s, and then having the brain aneurysm in my frontal lobe in February 2009. My doctor, Jason Leship, was the best thing that could ever had happened to me in my life. He was there for me, doing there for everything that he could, asking questions, calling every other hospital or doctor he can get a hold of to ask them what else can he do. During that time when I had the brain aneurysm, my blood wasn't clotting right, and I had to have tubes coming out of my skull. And during that time too, they also thought I was going to have another heart attack. But as you know, if you see from the other video, that I didn't have one. And also that my kidneys were about to shut off, but they're working fine. And as of this time, I also had to surrender my license, and the fact I'm not able to work anymore at this time in my life. So I'm hoping one time that my doctors, my neurologist, Dr. Jason Leship, will allow me at least to go to work or school. But he had said because of the stress, he doesn't want me to work or go to school at all at this time. Also, in regards to all this, and having the aneurysm and the 3 strokes that I've had seizures that I have to deal with for the rest of my life. I do take medication that suppresses the seizures, so I'm basically taking those like if it's chewing gum. So I'm very grateful for the people that I've had in my life. My mom, my dad, my sisters and my brothers, and my family, and basically all the great friends that I've met throughout my lifetime, from elementary school, middle school, high school, and all my great friends that I've met from the Collection Bureau San Jose. You know who you are. If I say who you are, the list is going to go on forever. So I'm going to say Jessica, Rosemary, Melanie, Melissa, Sharon, Christina, Yolanda, Yoli, Yvonne. There's so many. I've met so many great people there. It's too bad the company's no longer with us. And Mr. Jones. And the people that didn't survive their life during the time that before I had the aneurysm, that I wish they would have before I had the aneurysm stuff. Great people that I've ever met. It was not Anne, but Rosemary Adams. Mr. Jones, the owner of the Collection Bureau. Betty Lynn, everybody remembers Betty Lynn. And Margaret Grahava, who's passed away recently. So when I was working at the Collection Bureau of San Jose as a legal clerk, and ended up being a legal secretary, and having Rosemary being one of my bosses. She was great. She always had a beautiful smile. She always made me laugh. Still kind of get upset the fact that she couldn't survive, or didn't survive, that she had passed away to cancer. Somebody like that should not have passed away, or anyways, anybody. So if you look and listen to this, pay attention to what I have to say. If you have anything in regards to having any type of headaches, whatever there may be. My aneurysm didn't start in any way by having headaches or nothing. It was a normal day, as if it was a normal day it is today. So some of my friends, 3 of my friends, mothers that didn't survive and had them aneurysms. Kind of don't want to say their names. One of them was my coworker, Lori Munoz, whose mother passed away, if I can remember correctly. She was the first person I know that passed away of an aneurysm. And 2 of my friends from high school, from middle school and high school, their mom, Monica and Linda. I'm sorry to hear that your mom didn't survive the aneurysm just as well. And I always question, why did I have to survive? And why was it me? Was I chosen to live through all this? Knowing that Rose, Marie, Monica, and Linda's mom, they have family, they have children, they have grandchildren that they probably didn't see. So I'm going to end this as, if you do have any type of headaches, sometimes they're strong, sometimes they're not. But if you do question it, I suggest to go see. And finding out recently that my aunt also had a brain aneurysm just as well a year before mine. She didn't survive hers, that it could probably be hereditary. And I hope it is not. That is not hereditary in my family, due to the fact that other things are hereditary in my family, as cancer, diabetes. And I'm hoping that the aneurysm, brain aneurysm, will not. So I love you all. I'm glad to have you all as my friends. Thank you for all being in my life. Thank you all.